This is M-Wire, Movie Week in Review. M-Wire is brought to you by Audible.com. Sign up today to get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/geekcastradio. Start today with a free 30-day trial with over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Don't forget to follow Audible on Twitter at audible_com. And now the latest and greatest in movies with M-Wire.
Alright, pop quiz. Airport. Gunman with one hostage. He's using her for cover. He's almost to a plane. You're 100 feet away.
What do you think? Shoot the hostage.
What?
Go for the good wound and he can't get to the plane with her. Clear shot.
You're deeply nuts, you know that?
All right, gentlemen, what we have here are 13 passengers in an express elevator. Bomb's already taken out cables. Bomber wants $3 million or he blows the emergency brakes.
Anything else that'll keep this elevator from falling?
The basement.
He can strike anywhere, at any time.
Will the mystery guest please sign in?
Why are they messing with me? Do they think I'm doing this for fun?
For L.A. cop Jack Traven.
Tell me again, Harry, why did I take this job?
Come on, 30 more years of this, you get a tiny pension and a cheap gold watch.
Cool.
The game began.
Very exciting, Jack. Some close calls, huh?
When someone put the city of Los Angeles to the ultimate test.
Pop quiz, hotshot. There's a bomb on a bus. Once the bus goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed. If it drops below 50, it blows up. What do you do? What do you do?
Now.
Are you insured? Yeah, why?
He's the only solution.
We just got a ransom demand from you terrorist. Says he's rigged the city bus. Where's Jack?
Where do you think?
Stay on or get off.
Get off.
This is much better.
Everybody hold on!
Keanu Reeves, Dennis Hopper, Sandra Bullock.
Pop quiz. You have a hair trigger aimed at your head. What do you do? What do you do?
Speed. Get ready for rush hour.
Hello and welcome to M-Wire, Movie Week in Review, brought to you by the Geekcast Radio Network and Audible.com. I am one of your hosts, Steve Joe and Mike, and joining me is Steve Megatron. Holy hell, where the hell have you been?
Jail.
That's a good place for Joker.
I'm joking.
How is Arkham these days?
Exactly.
It's a little dry.
And of course, as you heard, we also have Movie Revolt Dan back again with us. Hello.
Hey, how are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. And today, the three of us are going to be getting on a non-stop bus ride through downtown LA as we continue the 90s flashback episodes here on M-Wire with 1994's Speed. I honestly don't remember if I saw this in theaters. What about you, Steve? Oh yeah, that's right.
94. I didn't see this until about 5 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, my wife introduced it to me.
Yeah.
Which is actually funny because I'm big into action films and she's not so much.
Uh-huh. What about you, Dan?
I definitely didn't see it in theaters. The first time I saw it was actually by VHS. It was like one of the few VHS I had growing up as a kid that wasn't a Disney movie. We had this in Jurassic Park, but yeah, that's how I first saw Speed.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I saw it, through an old rental place or something like that or whatever else, and VHS, and I think I saw it when I was 15 or 16, so 2 years after it came out. Yeah, I like it. I think it's a really interesting film. Of course, I find it so funny that this film happened a year after Dennis Hopper was King Koopa. So I guess he decided to go a more serious role.
I think he was trying to forget that as much as possible.
Yeah, pretty much. The other thing I find interesting about this movie is that, at least according to Wikipedia's filmography for Keanu Reeves, this is the only movie he did in 1994. Again, going by the Wikipedia filmography list, and again, I'm not looking at IMDb right now, but according to Wikipedia, this was the only movie he did in the year 1994. So that's interesting.
Yeah, he wasn't really a bankable star as of yet. I mean, the studios weren't really big on him for this role. I mean, a lot of other people were up for it. I mean, before this, he was for Bill and Ted, really. So that doesn't really surprise me. But yeah, it's kind of what I think made him seem more legitimate, I guess. I mean, Bill and Ted was obviously a hit, but no one ever took him as a serious action star. And I think this is kind of the first time anyone actually took him seriously.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, so let's send it over to JT from Saskatoon with the Just the Facts for Speed.
The film begins with a mysterious man trapping several people inside of a booby-trapped elevator in a skyscraper in downtown LA. The mystery man demands a huge ransom in 1 hour or he will blow the emergency brakes, sending the elevator and the people therein plummeting to their doom. SWAT is called in, and among them is officers Jack Traven and Harry Temple, who are ordered by their commander to gain entry and reconnoiter the elevator. While doing so, Harry and Jack employ a unique way of problem-solving to their current situation.
Alright, pop quiz. Airport, gunman with one hostage. He's using her for cover. He's almost to a plane. You're 100 feet away. Jack.
Shoot the hostage.
What?
Take her out of the equation. Go for the good wound and you can't get to the plane with her. Clear shot.
You're deeply nuts, you know that? Shoot the hostage.
With the clock ticking down, Jack and Harry are able to secure the elevator with a crane and rescue some of the passengers before the bomber notices their efforts and blows the brakes. Jack is able to save one of the last passengers trapped in the car before it falls to the bottom, and they realize the bomber must have been in the building if he could see what they're doing. Jack and Harry head to the basement to check the security office, where the bomber takes Harry by surprise and holds a gun on him. When Jack confronts him, Harry slyly suggests Jack shoot him based on their earlier conversation. Jack pops Harry and the bomber runs into the parking garage where another explosion goes off. Jack and Harry both assume the bomber is killed in the blast, and they are later commended for their efforts in rescuing the hostages, with Harry being promoted to detective first grade and is given a desk to ride while he heals up. The next day, Jack is getting a coffee when he sees a commuter bus explode, killing everyone inside. A nearby payphone begins ringing, and Jack answers, surprised to hear the bomber on the other end. The bomber tells Jack that another bus is rigged to blow if it goes any slower than 50 miles an hour. He also demands another ransom and warns Jack that he will detonate the bomb if it is tampered with or if any of the passengers leave the bus. Speeding off like a madman, Jack wrecks his Bronco, but commandeers a man's Jaguar and is soon able to get on board the bus after it goes past 50 miles an hour. After informing the driver Sam about the bomb, one of the passengers pulls a gun on Jack, thinking he is there to pick him up. Another passenger jumps the guy with the gun. It goes off, hitting Sam in the arm. Annie Porter, one of the last people to get on the bus, takes control of it while Jack sees to Sam. He also informs the other passengers about the bomb and contacts the LAPD, informing them about the situation. Jack then has Annie get off the crowded freeway into the city, and police cars arrive to escort the bus to an empty freeway under construction. Opening a service panel in the floor, Jack looks under the bus and locates the bomb. A passenger relays the bomb's description to Harry via cell phone, who starts researching potential suspects. The bomber contacts Jack via cell phone to taunt him, but Jack doesn't bite. Instead, he convinces the bomber to let him offload Sam so he can be treated. But when the other SWAT officers arrive with a flatbed truck to take Sam away, another passenger named Helen tries to get off the bus as well. Somehow, the bomber sees this and activates another explosive booby trap under the stairs, setting Helen down and under the bus's tires to her death. Thinking that the bomber is watching the news, Jack's SWAT commander, Lieutenant McMahon, clears the air of all news choppers. Not only that, but he also discovers a gap in the incomplete freeway. In a desperate Hail Mary play, Jack has Annie floored, and the bus jumps the gap, narrowly crossing in one piece. Jack then has Annie head for LAX, where the runways will give them enough room to circle, while Jack and others try to figure out what to do next. With the bomber's permission, Jack gets off the bus to confer with Lieutenant McMahon, and it's decided that Jack will go underneath the bus on a service cart and attempt to defuse the bomb. But the device proves to be too intricate for Jack's skills, and at the same time, one of Harry's team discovers the identity of the bomber. His name is Howard Payne, formerly of the Atlanta Police Department's bomb squad. Harry learns that after he lost a finger in a botched defusal several years before, Payne had moved out west to L.A. Harry and his team go to arrest Payne while Jack is hauled out from under the bus. However, scrap on one of the runways causes the cart to swerve out of control. Jack is nearly taken underneath the tires of the bus, but manages to cling on the underside of the bus by stabbing the gas tank with a screwdriver for a handhold. The passengers open the service panel from earlier and rescue Jack before he falls. When Harry and his team arrive at Payne's house, they find that Payne has rigged the house with explosives, which go off, killing all within the house. Payne calls Jack to mock him, but the conversation clues Jack into the fact that Payne has a camera hidden on board the bus. Jack radios this into Lieutenant McMahon, who works with one of the news crews to key into the camera's wireless signal and loop the video. The LAPD quickly move in and offload the rest of the passengers, save for Jack and Annie, who stay on board to keep the bus steady. After rigging the bus, Jack and Annie slide out under the bus on the service panel cover while the bus collides with an empty cargo plane and explodes. Annie then tags along with Jack when he goes to oversee the drop-off of Payne's ransom. However, Payne angrily discovers the video loop and also sees that the police are lying in wait for his roost near the garbage can drop-off. Disguising himself as a cop, Payne leads Annie away from the scene, and after the drop is made and Payne doesn't show, Jack checks the can and finds a hole underneath leading to a subway station. Jack races down to the station, finds Payne with the money and Annie. He also sees that Payne has dressed Annie in a bomb vest, and he threatens to drop the dead man switch if Jack interferes. Payne hauls Annie onto a nearby train and forces the conductor to leave the station before shooting him and handcuffing Annie to a pole. As the train leaves the station, Jack runs and is able to climb on board the train. Payne sees Jack and goes to confront him, but not before opening the bag with his ransom money. A die pack pops and ruins the money, driving Payne into a rage. He climbs on the top of the train and fights Jack while still clutching the dead man switch in his hand. Payne attempts to kill Jack for ruining his plans, but Jack forces his head up into the path of an oncoming signal light, decapitating the villain. Jack manages to get a hold of the switch and climbs back inside the train, and after freeing Annie from the bomb vest, Jack discovers that he doesn't have a key to free Annie from her cuffs, and the train's brakes are broken. Figuring the only way to survive is to derail the train when the track curves, Jack cranks the train speed to max and he and Annie hang on for dear life. Miraculously, the train crashes into an incomplete tunnel and out onto Hollywood Boulevard. Realizing that they've survived, Jack and Annie kiss while other people look on, ending the film.
I have to warn you. I've heard relationships based on intense experiences never work.
Okay. We'll have to base it on sex then.
Whatever you say, ma'am.
Directed by Jan de Bont, who had previously worked on such classic action films as Die Hard and The Hunt for Red October, Speed opened in theaters on June 10, 1994. The film would rake in over $350 million, nearly 12 times its original budget, during its run at the box office. The film starred Keanu Reeves as Jack Traven, Sandra Bullock as Annie Porter, Jeff Daniels as Harry Temple, and Hollywood legend Dennis Hopper as the Mad Bomber Howard Payne. Somewhat surprisingly, Roger Ebert not only liked this film, he loved it. Mr. Ebert gave the film 4 out of 4 stars, calling it a smart, inventive thriller, and also saying that we've seen this done before, but seldom so well or at such a high pitch of energy. And in Rolling Stone, film critic Pete Travers said, "Speed works like a charm. It's a reminder of how much movie escapism can still stir us when it's dished out with this kind of dazzle." The film even received an A rating from Entertainment Weekly's Owen Gleiberman, who said, "It's a pleasure to be in the hands of an action filmmaker who respects the audience. De Bont's craftsmanship is so supple that even the triple ending feels justified." And as a result of its critical and commercial success, Speed currently enjoys a well-deserved fresh rating of 90% on RottenTomatoes.com. Now, you may not be aware of this, but Stephen Baldwin, yeah, the dude from Biodome, was cast as Jack Traven, but left because the early version of the script he was working with had Officer Traven set up as a knockoff of John McClane. And he wasn't the only one. Other actors courted for the role include George Clooney, Johnny Depp, Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, and even Kevin Flynn himself, Jeff Bridges. And current geek god Joss Whedon was brought in the middle of filming to rewrite the script, almost entirely without any credit. This is also what brought Keanu Reeves onto the film, as he almost passed on it before Joss was brought in. Keanu Reeves also did almost all his own stunts for the film, and Sandra Bullock actually learned how to drive a bus for the role, passing the driver's test on her first try.
So you're a cop, right?
That's right.
Well, I should probably tell you that I'm taking the bus because I have my driver's license revoked.
What for?
Speeding?
And finally, in the original Die Hard draft of the film, Jeff Daniels' character of Harry Temple was supposed to be the bomber, but Dennis Hopper's character was added because producers felt the sudden twist wouldn't sit right with audiences. I gotta say that I love this movie with an unholy passion. Everything hits in this movie. The script, the acting, the stunts, the effects, everything. Like some of the critics' reviews said, it's so rare when a movie like this fires on all cylinders and isn't completely ridiculous. Seriously, this is a must-have, must-buy, must-own for anyone who enjoys quality action movies. It just is. This has been Just the Facts for Speed. I'm JT from Saskatoon. Now let's send it back to the rest of the crew on M-Wire.
So thank you once again, JT, for all the hard work you do with Just the Facts. This movie is a testament to 90s action, I think. It still holds up today. When I watched it back, I was like, yeah, some of the stuff is a little bit dated, obviously, but this could easily be a movie of the 21st century, as far as, like, today's action films.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it extremely holds up really well when watching it. Like, I've watched it over the years, but this is, like, the first time I've sat down to watch it, like, and analyze it since I first watched it years ago, and I was amazed on how well it stands up. Like, this could be literally released in theaters today, and I think it'd be just as successful. It's edited really well. The pacing is really well done. The stunts, it's all practical stunts, and I think that really makes it stand out. Like this, if you look at action, there's all those high watermark movies. Like you have First Blood, you have Die Hard, and I put Speed right in there. I think this was like one of the best action movies of the '90s. Like, and I think it's still today. I would put it up there. I think it's everything you want in an action movie. Good characters, a decent enough story, and then it's just the action is well edited and it's really well shot. I think that's the key here. It's just the director, Jane DeBont, I think that's how you pronounce it. He did the cinematography for Die Hard, and I think he took a lot of that experience and it lent itself perfectly to this movie. And he is a big key to why this movie works.
Oh, yeah. Initial thoughts on the movie, Steve?
I have to agree with you guys. I mean, it's really well done. I do think that this is one of the few... Because there are some action films that don't really hold up, either because they look dated or because they're just... The effects are dated. But even in modern time... I don't think that they could have done... I mean, they could have obviously done a little bit better graphically, but as far as the acting and as far as the, practicality of it, it just makes more sense. And I really enjoy this film. And I think that it also kind of made people think that, Keanu Reeves is, actually has potential besides Bill and Ted.
Yeah, and he also was in Point Break as well, so that was the other thing people might have known him for. I don't know. I've never seen, and I don't intend to ever see, Bram Stoker's Dracula, but he was also Jonathan Harker in that before this. But no, I mean, he's after Speed. He's pretty much gone on a tear in both good and bad movies, not only action. But also romantic comedies and all that other stuff. Of course, most of today's generation knows him as Neo from the Matrix movies.
I know Kung Fu.
But stuff like what is it? Something's Gotta Give. He was in that. He was in Hardball, Sweet November. That was a strange film. The Watcher, The Replacements, The Lake House. I've always liked seeing him in films. I mean, I think he's a really, really good actor. I'm glad that he kind of stepped away from the Ted role. The whole, because as we all know, in the 80s, once you're stuck in a role like that, you're typecast forever.
Whoa.
Was that Joker trying to be Ted? That's
no, if it was the Joker, you would know it, you asshat.
All right then. So I mean, he's just had an amazing career. He's even got stuff coming out later this year. Man of Tai Chi and 47 Ronin.
Maybe. I mean, 47 Ronin has been in like post-production hell for a very long time. The movie was supposed to come out like a couple of years ago, but hopefully it'll come out this year. I'm actually really looking forward to that. It's a pretty good premise, but yeah, he kind of has taken that role of the stoner kid from the 1980s, and like I forgot earlier that yes, he was in Point Break, so that kind of helped break him. And I think Speed was probably the next thing, and then of course The Matrix, like you mentioned, and then he had some other roles. I like the movie Constantine. It's not great by any means, but I think it has its moments. And then he's been in some less than stellar films, like The Day That Earth Stood Still. That wasn't the greatest remake in the world. He hasn't really done much in the last few years, but hopefully that if 47 Ronin does come out, that will kind of bring him back to the limelight.
Yeah. The other thing about Keanu is what I find so strange about him is some of the films that most people won't like that he did is that they have such great casts in them, because he also did Chain Reaction. And I know a lot of people, at least a lot of people that I know and talk to, never really cared for that movie. But I mean, that movie has Morgan Freeman. It has all these other people. It has all these other great cast members in it. Rachel Weisz, Fred Ward, Kevin Dunn, Brian Cox. I mean, it's got all those people, and it's people just look at that movie and be like, "Oh, what the hell was Keanu Reeves doing now?"
One of the smartest things he ever did was turn down Speed 2. So that was probably one of the best movies.
We'll get into that closer to the end of the show. But yes, you're right. Moving down the list here to King Koopa himself, Dennis Hopper, as Howard Payne. Oh my God, this guy was so good. Just so good. It was just absolutely amazing as this villain. Because we don't see, like, at first, obviously, we don't see him. We just hear him on the, like, in those few first scenes. You know, when he's like, pop quiz, hot shot, and the whole elevator scene and all that. So there is that, and it's like, he plays the villain so well. I absolutely love his performance in this.
Yeah, he really he enjoys being evil, but he's not so over the top evil. There's still some like realism to his character. JT mentioned in the Just the Facts that Joss Whedon did a lot of touch up on the script, especially with the dialogue, and I don't know where exactly he did it. He wasn't credited, but I'm pretty sure when watching this, like hearing his that character, that's where I feel like he probably had most of his work was done, just with his witty repartee, his self-referential humor, like how he was kind of meta in moments. So I think that like Dennis Hopper had a good script behind him, and then he really nailed it. And I think I put him as one of the best action villains, bar none, like up there with Hans Gruber and other great action villains.
Oh yeah, I mean, he was just so great. Any thoughts on Howard Payne, Steve?
He plays a dick very well.
Nah.
But
yes, it does.
He's almost cold and calculating to the point, though, that he is outthinking the rest of the police.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting seeing how he's kind of getting his own way. of sorts.
Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, the next one down the list is Mrs. Sandra Bullock. Most people, well, the first two things that most people would know her for is 93's The Vanishing and 93's Demolition Man. I also remember her, sadly, in Love Potion number 9, 1992.
So you're the person that watched that movie?
One of them, anyway.
So that's how it got ratings.
Fuck you. No, you should be saying that about the Net, because the Net in 95 sucked. But I would say that this one was more so, outside of Demolition Man, this was really her, Speed was really her, hey, look at me, make me famous role. Because everybody remembers her in this, and since Speed, she's got an amazing filmography, the Net notwithstanding, but, she was in a John Grisham book turned into a movie, A Time to Kill. Sadly, she did sign on for Speed 2.
She needed the money.
Probably. Hope Floats, Practical Magic, Forces of Nature, 28 Days, Miscongeniality, 2 Weeks Notice, Murder by Numbers. I mean, she's got a ton of credits and a ton of really great films that she's done. She's in a movie in 2009 called All About Steve, which apparently won a bunch of Razzies and wasn't very well received.
What's sad about that movie is she plays a character named Mary.
I know!
And my wife and it's Steve and Mary, so it's kind of, we thought that was hilarious, and that's pretty much the only reason why we watched the movie.
That's so funny.
Yeah, 2009 was a kind of a weird year for her, because she had that movie All About Steve, but she also had The Blind Side, which she won an Oscar for, and The Proposal, which was also a huge hit. So
that was another good one.
She had these really two strong films, and then she had All About Steve, which was a complete mess. But yeah, she's had quite a career, and I think she has Gravity coming out this year, which I'm looking forward to. I think that could be really good. So yeah, I think Speed is what really broke her. I think in a lot of ways, like, she helps make this movie better and more than just die hard on a bus. I think she brings a lot of personality.
Yeah, The Proposal. Ugh, I just can't get past certain person's acting ability or lack thereof.
Oh, shut up.
I actually tried watching it it was on USA over the weekend or something, and yeah, no.
You're just a dick. You hate Ryan Reynolds. That's the only reason why you're bashing it.
Dude can't act for shit.
Yeah, he can.
No, he can't. Not in most things.
You are banned from any Ryan Reynolds type of movie that has him in it.
The only one I would even want to talk about is Safe House, because it's the only one where he actually acts.
Like I said, you're banned from any movie that includes him.
Anyways. Next on the list, of course, is Jeff Daniels. You want to talk about a guy who's had a film career. Holy crap. He started in 1981 with Ragtime. Terms of Endearment. Let's see what else people might know him from. Arachnophobia in 1990. I remember that movie. Ugh, that's why I don't like spiders anymore. And of course, Speed. His role as Harry, to me, I know it was a short-lived role, but it didn't feel like he was one of the main cast. I know he is. I know he's like third billed on the cast list, but it just felt like he wasn't like, it wasn't like with Keanu and Sandra, where Speed is kind of what elevated them. I don't know. What did you guys think, Steve?
As far as who?
Jeff Daniels, Harry.
I liked his character, although he was very briefly in the film. Sadly, yeah. I wish that they would have given him a bigger part or had him last longer at least. Because I like Jeff Daniels as an actor, and it was kind of unfortunate he played like a throwaway.
What I find absolutely funny about him in 94 is that in Speed he plays Harry Temple. In Dumb and Dumber he plays Harry Dunn.
Yes.
character's named Harry.
And in Speed, he's like the smart. He brings the brains, and then in Dumb and Dumber, obviously, not so much.
Not so much, yeah.
Yeah. What I do like his character as well. I mean, the only bad thing about his character is when he gives that speech at the bar when he's like, "I'm not going to be around forever." That's basically saying I'm going to die very shortly, because it's just like that's the speech any cop gives to any partner. And like, all right, well, he's going to die, and which is unfortunate. But yeah, I did like the way they used him as like this, the person trying to figure everything out, and giving Keanu Reeves someone, have an emotional attachment, because you need a movie like this. You need someone to die that you have some sort of attachment with. So I think he was just that cog that they created. But unfortunately, they could have used him a little bit better, but they did what they could, I guess.
And I must have, of course, this movie was kind of like, I had the same feeling with the movie I'm about to mention as what I felt about Inception. It was just there, but I completely must have missed him in Looper. I do not remember him.
Who is it?
He played the boss. He's the person from the future.
Yeah, I remember. He was Abe. That's okay. I remember it now. I don't know. I don't know.
He had that great line when he's like, "I'm gonna go to France." It's like, "You should go to China." He's like, "I'm gonna go to France. I'm from the future.
Yeah.
You should go to China." Yeah,
I remember that.
His role was small, but I loved him in that. I thought he was great.
And right now, currently, he is oh God, what's his character's name? It's Will something. Will McAvoy on HBO's The Newsroom. Absolutely amazing show, but he did a really good job with what they gave him in this. I cannot believe, Steve, you're gonna love this. That one guy on the bus, Doug Stevens, is Cameron.
Oh, I knew that.
God damn it! I did not. I just completely blanked on that it was that it's Alan Ruck, and it's just. And again, for him, for as good as an actor as he is, he can take that kind of a small role, and it's just kind of like, oh hey, I absolutely love that. Overall, the cast in this is absolutely well done. Let's get into some casting news here, because apparently Stephen Baldwin was the first choice for the role of Jack Traven. I cannot see Stephen Baldwin. As much as I like Stephen Baldwin, because I like him in was it 95 or 97's Fled with Lawrence Fishburne. I like him in that. I cannot see him as Jack Traven. I just could not see that. Let's see. So there's that. What are your overall feelings of the plot and the story of the film, Steve?
I come back to me.
Dan?
What I really liked about the plot was like the cat and mouse game, that aspect. Every time Keanu Reeves or Jeff Daniels' characters would get, would find something out or try to get ahead, you had Dennis Hopper, Howard character, would have something else behind. There was just this constant battle back and forth as they're trying to one up each other, and it was really great at averting expectations. You think it's going to go one way, you think it's going to end, and then it doesn't. And what I liked about it too is it consistently made things more difficult for itself. Like every time they tried to save someone, then something other happened. What I love too, about this is I think it really benefited from the fact that it shot on location. It was on I forget the name of the highway, but it was yet to be built. And so they had this huge open freeway that they can actually film on. So it was on location, an actual highway. So I think it really benefited that and took advantage of that. And
I think it was the 105 or the 405 out there in LA. It's one of them damn numbers.
Yes. And I think that really benefited the film, because that's when you see Keanu Reeves racing up to the bus, and it's you see the camera move as his car is coming in, and it's panning to the speed limit, and it's getting close to 50, and it kept it going, and with the score behind it, it really always kept up the tension. I think that was what this movie does better than most action films is that it established tension. It doesn't really let you go, and every time you think you're going to get a breath, something else happens to completely change it. You think this, like the moment where the one lady's about to escape off the van, and then she ends up getting blown up and dragged underneath the van, or the bus, not the van, but it'd be a whole different movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what I loved about the plot. It was just, and how the ending and how it kept all the false endings. You think it's over, and then something else happens. Then they go to, Sandra Bullock gets tied up in all the explosives, and then they're on the subway, and then the subway can't stop. It's like it just keeps upping itself over and over again, and sometimes that's annoying. But in this film, I thought it really earned it.
Yeah. Like you said, this, and I didn't think about this until I started watching it back and I started reading the Wikipedia article and stuff like that. This film could almost have been a Die Hard 6 or a Die Hard 2.5 or, something like that, because it has that same element of you never know what's going to happen next, just like the only thing I can really compare it to, as far as like when you were saying about how the film, like you think it's going to end at one point and then it doesn't, is in Superman Batman Apocalypse, when they go back to the farm and everything's quiet and everything else, and boom, all of a sudden Darkseid's just there, and then the fight starts. So yeah, this film did that amazingly. Steve?
Yeah, I like the whole fact that they, as Dan said, the cat and mouse thing. I also kind of like the rivalry, and yes, I think that the reason why this resonates so much is because Die Hard's such a hit, and it's very similar in writing style of Die Hard. It does seem like it would be something that would fit into that universe that you could see John McClane taking care of. But it also was kind of written to be like a Die Hard. It was too much like that, which is kind of why they had to kind of change it a little bit. But I really like the fact that you have all these kind of tertiary and secondary characters that kind of, some of them get a little bit more in the front line as far as on the bus is concerned. And then you have Dennis Hopper kind of playing like the Hans Gruber, running around watching the entire situation.
Yeah. And what I really like about it is how they attempt to trick him with the camera and the tape.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't, that works for a while. And then that's how we get to the train sequence, is that he figures that out, where he's like, shit! And he just has to go and do something else. As much as we love this movie, really, and I have to do this when I analyze stuff, when you boil the plot down, it's just a jaded cop who just thinks he hasn't gotten everything he deserves for 20 years of service. That's, I don't know. Like I said, I like the execution of the plot, but the plot itself is just like...
Yeah, but
I don't know.
I think plot can be overrated, though. I think people... when you boil most action movies down, or movies in general, the plot, to me, tends not to be the most important thing. It's how the story is framed, it's the characters, it's how as well it's executed. And I don't think it hides the fact that it acknowledges that the fact it's just this disgruntled cop. Like, you have that thing with the watch, and like the gold watch is the timer, and it's like, oh, that's how they figure it out, and like, oh, you can kind of put those things in your head because they mentioned it early in the film in the elevator sequence, and then you're thinking like, oh, I'm figuring this out, and then you have Dennis Hopper's character commenting on that and talking about how obvious that was. So you think you're being smart, and you're thinking, oh, this film is being obvious, but then it comments on itself, and it points itself out and saying, yes, that's an obvious moment, and it was meant to be. Like, he wanted that watch to be found, and he wanted to be found out so he can then, have people come to his house, and then that's how that explosion happened. So that's what I appreciated. That yes, the plot, like you said, is not that complex. It's a simple story, and it's very heavily influenced by Die Hard, like we mentioned. But,
Yeah.
well, how did you guys feel about the iconic jump the bus moment in this movie?
That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's still awesome. I know today that would probably be done with CGI or something like that, or models or
Well,
whatever.
it depends on the director as well, though, because some
right,
prefer the 3D, some prefer the actually blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little clumsy, obviously, because you're jumping a bus, but it's kind of funny, and it's like I think they refer to it in production as their Dukes of Hazzard moment, and just which is funny, and it is kind of, I know a lot of people have issues with it, and I can understand that because you're not going to jump a bus even if you make it go 70 miles per hour. But anyway, I think it was well executed, and it looked great, like you guys mentioned. But I was just curious because I know a lot of people can't stand that moment.
Yeah. The moment I can't stand, and the one that I find to be really like there's no way that would have lasted that long, is at the very end when they put the piece of wood and they tie the steering wheel to make sure the bus keeps going so they can jump off. There's no way in hell once a person is not in, because trust me, I know, because my dad works or used to work for a bus company and used to work for a coach like that. There's no way tying anything to the steering wheel and then fastening it to something else to keep it going in that direction and keeping a piece of wood stuck, wedged up against the pedal. There's no way that would have lasted that long. I call bullshit on that moment.
Yeah, and it's very convenient how it goes through all this hangar, keeps going, and then just conveniently hits an empty plane that just happens to be passing by.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure if no one's driving a bus, it's probably not going to go as straight as that bus did for as long as it did.
Yeah, that's just nuts. All right, so we are the IGN replacement crew. 0 to 4. 0 is, you'd rather gnaw off your own arm than watch this movie. 1 is don't watch it even if it's free. 2 is worth a watch if it's free on TV. 3 is worth adding to the Netflix list. I don't think it's on Netflix. I don't remember if it is or not.
It is not on Netflix streaming. It's not streaming anywhere at this moment.
And of course, 4 is this is one is a must add to your DVD collection. I gotta give it a 4. I really enjoy this movie. This is a movie I can watch maybe once or twice a year. It's so good, and I haven't seen it in at least 5 or 6 years. So since before this recording. What about you, Steve? What do you give it?
I would say it deserves a 4 because it still holds up fairly well in today's age, unlike other films in today's age. But just overall, I really enjoyed this film. I mean, it's really good, and I do own
it. You started to sound like the Riddler. This is the higher slip. I have it. He was talking to Bruce Wayne.
You're fired.
What about you, Dan? What do you rate this one?
Well, I guess I will keep the pattern going, and I will also give it a 4. Funny, before I rewatched it, if you asked me just randomly, I'd probably say a 3 just from my memory. But rewatching it, I was like, wow, I really did not appreciate this movie nearly as much as I should. It's so better executed than I realized, and I just always kind of put it in the realm with other Die Hard knockoffs, but it's so much more than that. I think it is legitimately a really solid action film, and it's endlessly rewatchable. So yeah, if you're an action movie fan or just a fan of the 90s action genre specifically, and you've got to own this movie.
Yeah, I mean, this may have started out as a Die Hard copycat, but it morphed into its own thing, and it's one of those films where, like we've said, we never expected the next whatever to happen, even when rewatching it all these years later. Like, I remember when I first watched it as a 15, 16-year-old kid, I didn't expect that first bus to blow up, and even now, I completely forgot that the first bus blows up.
Yeah, I forgot all about that scene, honestly.
Yeah.
I forgot, too, about the bus driver getting shot. I'm like, I forgot that even happened. Although there's a lot of those smaller moments that I completely slipped my mind, and I forgot the the end of I always thought the end of the movie is when they were sliding off the bus into like the Keanu Reeves, holding Sandra Bullock, and forgot there was still like 30 minutes to go. So yeah, there's all these little moments in the elevator sequence in the beginning. That's also fantastic. That was really well done. Like there's all these great set pieces over and over again. That it's perfect. Not perfect, but it's great. It's everything you want in an action movie.
Yeah. As far as releases, of course, it's on, I believe it's on iTunes for rent or purchase. I don't know. I did search it out, and I think it is available for purchase on iTunes. And of course, it's available on DVD. As far as a legacy for this movie, sadly, in 1997, a sequel, Speed 2, Cruise Control, was released. Sandra Bullock agreed to star again as Annie for financial backing for another project. But Keanu Reeves declined to offer to return as Jack. As a result, Jason Patric was written into the story as Alex Shaw, Annie's new boyfriend, with her and Jack having broken up due to her worry about Jack's dangerous lifestyle. Willem Dafoe starred as the villain. John Giger and Glenn Plummer, who played Reeves' carjacking victim, also has cameos as the boat driver. The film is considered one of the worst sequels of all time. Barely reaching 2% on Rotten Tomatoes, Sandra Bullock herself mocked this film's performance and has admitted to regretting being a part of it.
Do you know who has the only positive review on Rotten Tomatoes of Speed 2?
No clue.
Roger Ebert.
Oh my god.
Actually, I do like Roger Ebert, but I think that's pretty hilarious that he's the only one with a positive review of that movie.
What I find hilarious is that a great actor like Willem Dafoe would even come near this pile of crap.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of understand it. Like, Speed was such a hit. Sometimes you think, maybe it'll be just as good. And Willem Dafoe's been in a lot of bad movies too, unfortunately. But yeah, it happens. Sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes the script may look great, and then when it's actually filmed, it's not done well. So, I mean,
just the whole premise of, oh hey, first movie we had a bus, now let's have it on a boat. That's just it's just so wrong. All right, so we're gonna go to a quick commercial break and hear some other GCRN ads and other podcast ads and some stuff like that, and we'll come back to close the show after this.
Coming to Grand Rapids, Michigan on September 21st and 22nd is GrandCon Gaming and Comics Convention, presented by Celebration Cinemas. Join us in playing or chatting it up with fellow enthusiasts in a community that understands your passions. Get lost in the adventure of your favorite role-playing game. Admire costumes and art from vendors and attendees. Meet the creators behind your favorite mainstream and independent games and comic books. Check out unpublished games and sneak peek at things to come. You can get all this and more at GrandCon. For more information, please visit www.grand-con.com.
Kid? Yes? Shut up.
Beyond the Night is the GCRN's latest review podcast. We are covering everything in the Knight Rider television universe, from the classic 80s TV series to the 1991 reunion film, Team Knight Rider, and the 2008 relaunch series as well. So join TFG and Mike and Dion the Music Man as they go in depth in Beyond the Night, only on Geekcast Radio Network. You can find Beyond the Night in iTunes and on www.geekcastradio.com.
Kid?
Yes, Michael.
Just keep driving.
Do you like retro shows? Did you grow up in either the 80s or the 90s? Then tune into Telecast, geekcastradio.com's newest podcast. Join us here on the Telecast as we revisit some of your favorite shows, such as Clarissa Explains It All, Salute Your Shorts, Saved by the Bell, and much, much more, only on geekcastradio.com.
So we are back. Dan, final thoughts on Speed?
Speed is fun, and it holds up very well, and it's possibly, if you're looking at action films of the 90s, one of the best. It's up there with The Matrix, is up there with Terminator 2. Maybe not as high as those, but it's right after that. So yeah, and if you haven't watched it, I honestly do yourself a favor, because I really appreciated going back and rewatching this movie.
Yeah. Same for me. I mean, this movie holds up so well. The action, it's great. The stunts are great. One thing we didn't mention was, and I assume this was not, it might have been a stunt double at certain points, but obviously in the close-ups it wasn't. But Keanu on that slider, on the gurney, that the piston breaks, and he's stuck under the bus. The scene where they lower him down to look at the bomb. That scene right there, if that was actually him the whole way down and not a stunt double, that just goes to show you what a great action star he was and, still is nowadays. I mean, that was just phenomenal stunt work right there. Steve, final thoughts?
I would say it's definitely one of those films that you have to see. I definitely agree that it does stand very, very well in today's age. Keanu, in my opinion, is kind of a hit or miss actor. Just the same thing with Sandra Bullock. It just kind of depends on the film. But I think that they nailed it in this film, and I think that that's also what kind of helped put people saying that, hey, look, they actually can do good movies.
Well, I mentioned it earlier, just as one other final note before I close out the show here. I mentioned it earlier that he was also in The Lake House. The Lake House was also the film that technically reunited them as far as working together, and I really enjoyed that film as well. So, I mean, I love the two of them together when they're doing the character acting. I think they're really great, a really great actor and actress, and they have such good chemistry with each other, so it was very, very awesome. For you, the listeners of... Oh, wait, I gotta redo that shit. I'll do that other way. We hope you enjoyed this episode of MWire and wish you'll join us next time when we will be continuing on in the 90s flashback with episode 95, The Bad Boys franchise. For now, I am TFG and Mike with...
Leaverfault Dan.
And Steve Megatron Phillips.
Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep those film reels rolling.
You've just listened to Movie Weekend Review on GeekCastRadio.com. If you would like to leave feedback on the show, there are many ways to do so. First, you can visit the website, GeekCastRadio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. Be sure to rate our show on iTunes and leave us feedback. You can follow us on Twitter at GCRN MWire. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can email us at feedback@geekcastradio.com. Call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.
In a world, there, I said it, happy